It's nothing new that the globalist liberal types want to destroy any type of English and European identity. Now, this has made many people across the continent and in our country very concerned about our future and our culture. And this is why politicians such as Nigel Farage and more recently Robert Jenrick, he's a Tory leadership hopeful, are very eager to stake their claim to lead this discontent amongst the English and British people. However, there's one big problem. Both Farage and Jenrick both adhere to the liberal paradigm. They are adhering to what's known as quote-unquote boomer truth. This means that while they're patriotic, they seem to struggle to acknowledge that the English exist as a legitimate ethnic group. You can see this on full display as Jenrick talks to an establishment mouthpiece about English identity, and he nervously skirts around the question of what English identity actually is.
What is English identity?
Well, just as every nation has its own distinct history and culture, so does ours in England.
What is it?
Just as we would know what, a Frenchman would know what France stands for.
What is English identity then, Robert Jenrick?
Well, it's the history and the culture of our country.
Give me some examples then of what English identity represents.
Well, to me, it is the distinct history of our country. It is the great things that, as a country, England has achieved in the world. It's our values, it's the courtesies and manners that we have.
Now, all these things Jenrick is talking to are elements of English identity, but he's ignoring the absolute key ingredient, the English people themselves. But why is he so frightened to say that? Well, it's because the modern liberal world has brainwashed everybody into believing that simply having an ethnic identity as a European makes you an evil fascist who wants to genocide every other ethnic group. And right on time, here's some snooty liberal academic calling out Jenrick for his supposed unashamed ethno-nationalism and racism. So while simply acknowledging English identity will get you labelled as some genocidal maniac in this day and age, it is a massive red herring, a con. Yet the powers that be want to maintain this controversy because it suits their globalist liberal agenda. It's much harder to enforce mass immigration and multiculturalism on a country who know who they are, who feel they have actual roots. And of course, to a globalist liberal type, even hearing me say that would put them into a fit of rage. They think, how dare you say that mass immigration isn't good for Britain? How dare you say that multiculturalism hasn't been good? And the whole thing is highly ironic, because the liberal types seemingly want to destroy any sense of belonging that Europeans have in Europe. They'd want to destroy any sense of ethnic identity. But for the people coming here, they want to do the exact opposite. They want to celebrate their identity and promote it. And as I've said before in this channel, if people come here and don't want to jettison their ethnic and cultural identity, well, who can blame them? It'd be a horrible thing to do to somebody. But why should it be done to us? Well, that's because most Europeans, especially Brits, have been told that they should live in a post-ethnic world, and most Brits seemed up for that over the past few decades to me. However, slowly people are waking up and realising that that only applies to us for some reason. It's this glaring contradiction that's even getting leftist commies like Aaron Bastani to acknowledge English identity. He stated the inability to accept the possibility of an English identity is such a gap among progressives. It is a nation and one that has existed for more than 1,000 years. Its language is the world's lingua franca. It seems to me that Bastani knows it's not only immoral to deny the English of their own identity, but second to that, the globalist liberals are creating the conditions for some sort of civil war in the future if they continue with this line. After all, they seem to want to celebrate the identities of people from around the world, deny the English of an identity, enforce mass immigration and multiculturalism against the will of the people, and call anybody who opposes it in any way completely evil and a genocidal maniac. What they've done is just iniquitous, and I have to say it in these videos, but I don't hate anybody. They imply that to try and psych you out of having your own opinions outside of the liberal paradigm. As stated before on this channel, I'd like to live in peace with all men, but as part of that, you need to let people from their distinct nations embody their historic cultures. They speak to their ancestors that way and pass on their cultures to their descendants in a healthy manner in that state too. There's nothing hateful about that. That's just standard civilizational practice to keep things moving in a healthy manner. Seems to me the only extreme thing going on here is what they are doing, not what average people who are worried about their country and culture are thinking. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.